Greetings and welcome to my dear Leo. This is Ron from Tarot of the Twin Sun. Tarot of the Twin Sun is a functional division within the Order of the Twin Sun. Please take only what you will. So this is a discourse on the forecast in terms of November 2022 for the energy of Leo. The solar energy of the 5th house is now open. And we'll go ahead and get started. We also will be doing in a bit later in the video a 9-card spread known as the Great Mirror. Okay, so stay tuned for that. So firstly, there is an activation of the 4th house, a stellium in the fixed sign of Scorpio. Okay, which slightly aspects you know the placement of Leo. Okay. We're reading this for the ascendant of Leo. And with this, the stellium activates a transformation within, okay? This has to do essentially with finding a way to stabilize certain extremities that are complex in nature, that are deeply within in terms of your most personal space, either within your domicile, your home, the idea of the body as well as the idea of the emotional body, okay? There also could be something to do with the mother, in terms of mother figures in your life, them going through major transformational shifts in terms of what they are thinking, how the sun will potentially combust in this stellium, the mind as well as our value systems, okay? Their value systems in particular, your own value systems. So there needs to be some sort of understanding of certain karmas that have to do with the idea of isolation or deep meditation, okay? Going within and finding some sort of transformational change in which the sun will combust through the solar energy of Scorpio, essentially, the mind, our value systems, as well as any past karmas with the South Node, okay? And this is interesting because the people that come into your life will sort of challenge you in terms of this sort of self-identification of crisis and evolution through crisis. And these people activate your 7th house with a moon conjunct Saturn in Aquarius, okay? And what does this mean for the month of October? It means that you will be primarily dealing with authenticity, trying to understand who truly resonates with you, and how certain people behave in such a way that is extremely detached, in which their actions produce with Mars in retrograde, okay, certain effects. And this has to do primarily with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 houses away. Deep transformation in which individuals in the society produce a certain effect, okay, in which with this Mars in retrograde action, it controls information, the sea of information, news, as well as global affairs, as well as global mindsets or collective consciousness, okay? And essentially this activates a harmonious aspect that will show people their own true identity, their true self, okay? Which is this strange and eccentric conjunction of Moon and Saturn in Aquarius, okay, aspecting your 4th house. And also your 10th house, okay? So this has to do with stability, ways of coming into yourself, and also understanding how your role with the outer world and essentially what's going on, how a lot of this may feel a bit simulated. You might be dealing with people who broadcast themselves as something much like an NPC or some sort of simulated version of themselves, in which they can produce the effect of sort of living one reality or another. There's a two-faced quality to this moon conjunct Saturn in Aquarius, okay? So it's a very interesting dynamic. And you might find people who are significant in terms of a soul purpose or soul contract with you, in terms of karmas with you, that are producing the effect of I would say callousness, the inability for, because when Moon is conjunct Saturn, there's an inability for emotions or the true nature to express itself. There's a dramatic quality to this astrological conveyance in terms of the chart that actually shows difficulty in producing the effect of real authenticity. There's an artificialness or simulation that will challenge you in terms of your own reality, your own sort of practicality, your own individual self, as opposed to the outer self that you project out into the world, okay, which is constantly negotiating a sense of stability in terms of your career, in terms of, finding an orderly way to conduct yourself to produce the effect of feeling in your own skin, okay. Some of the more harmonious aspects have to do with essentially finding a sense of truth through the abstraction that is occurring with Jupiter in retrograde and Neptune in retrograde in Pisces, okay? Something is transforming here in terms of vision, and this has to do with the sense of work, a sense of obstacles that come through transforming any blocks or obstacles that are indicated in the 6th house, your 6th house, with Pluto in Capricorn, okay? Which is eventually going to create some sort of way to pierce the veil and to understand essentially what's going on in terms of a collective, how people and what they do in terms of information, or how seeds of information or the sort of flow of information in terms of info wars are going to influence essentially your sense of transformation. They're going to stimulate it into such a way that you will be able to see through the bullshit. That's basically what it is. And the idea here is to essentially ritualize your behavior, ritualize your work, okay? To work hard, essentially, to break through this sort of the sort of veil or the fog, the mental fog of transformation, okay? Now we'll move over to the Great Mirror. And what is being activated right now is heavily the 4th house. The sun will allow you to essentially generate a way to be stabilized, a way to define the inner world, and to define that in such a way that it is unique and it is not enslaved to information, to the garbage of mass proliferation in terms of the masses, okay? In terms of collective sort of head speak, collective ways of people producing information to control or manipulate. You're going to see through that. That's a really good thing. It's a really good thing. So currently you're dealing with someone who activates your 7th, your 1st and 7th houses. You're dealing with a mirror, and within this reading in particular, you are becoming empowered through that. Gemini is here with Lovers. So the 3rd house comes in strong as well. Nothing heavily aspected here in the 3rd house. The 5th house is also activated, plus the 1st house. Interesting. 1, 3, and 5. Nothing heavily aspected. In terms of major arcana, this has to do essentially with finding mutual power, mutual strength in this connection. There's a fixity to this, as well as a sense of you have right control, you have the right doing, you have the right way of seeing things in terms of being empowered through this connection, whatever it may be. On a soul level, there's an interesting accentuation of this empowerment. I think you are sitting on a connection here. You're dealing with someone that essentially empowers you in such a way that it allows for mutual benefit. This is essentially a good reading, what I'm seeing. What is being sought out is a sense of truth and the crown of creation through the Ace of Swords, okay, that culminates and brings forward a sense of truth, a sense of right doing, a sense of mutual empowerment, and a voice of right doing, right action, right thinking. These are all sort of motifs of the Ace of Swords. But there is a realm of expectation here, and it is driven from the 7 of Pentacles and the 4 of Pentacles. Okay, it's either the Ace or it is potentially also the 3 of Pentacles, trying to find a way to, I would say, derive a proper reality in this. on the soul level, there's a great deal of expectation. Someone on the person you're dealing with is extremely conservative, and there's something about them that's trying to conserve their strength, preserve their strength. Okay, but it's a strong connection, and it has to do with nostalgia. It has to do with innocent love in a way that empowers you. That's what you want from it, some sort of authenticity in terms of love, or in terms of real connection. Authenticity is very important here. Now, there's someone here that you're dealing with that is damaged. Also, they have a complex in which they have to find a way to deal with their own shadow self, one that has to do with hoarding or protection. There's a defensive quality here, but I think you will be able to penetrate this. The difference here is essentially to understand their passion, where it comes from, what is the source of that, and I think you might find that it is driven from the shadow realm in which they have to deal with, and then find the strength by going through their own process of deep reflection, deep meditation, a deep intense look into essentially the fourth house for them. Now the interesting thing is that because the seventh is activated, you might find that you will find a sense of empowerment in this, but it requires a sort of transformation of Venus as well as a transformation of Mercury. Okay, and these planets will naturally transform. Venus will constantly ascend and descend in terms of the morning or the evening star, as well as the potential for Mercury to oscillate, to move very rapidly around the sun. So there is a conjunction here that has to do, it's the triggering of a past life karma, in which there is a commitment, a sense of reality, a sense of stability. The thing is that it's difficult because if someone is hoarding, and it's them in particular with the Four of Pentacles, it's hard to actually give if you're holding, and it's hard to get as well if you're holding, meaning that if the cup is full, or if the foundation is set and they don't want to get rid of that, there's a fixity about them that has to do with their own experiences of limitation, and in which they hold essentially themselves back in such a way, okay, that it is difficult to celebrate the lover's energy in this situation. Do wish you well. Thank you. Bye-bye.